Hi everyone, it's Jerry. Let's have a look at a game from the 2018 FIDE Cadets World Rapid and Blitz Chess Championships. U10 Division. This is a game from round 4 of the Rapid event. Time controls 10 minutes apiece with a 5-second increment. On the white end, Tihon Chernyaev from Ukraine, rated 2143, age 8 years 4 months. His opponent Aleksandrs Karasevics, player from Latvia, rated 1455, very much so an underrated player. He was born in 2009, not sure of the birth date. This game is one of the more instructive ones I came across when cycling through several of the games from this event. I think there is certainly something to take away from it. We have on board a Caro-Kann defense. This game experiences, well, we experience one of the lengthier variations in the game, that is a mainline Caro-Kann, bishop f5. Plenty of direct punches thrown at this early stage, case in point right here, as well as after h4, preparing to trap the bishop. That's not happening. From here, knight f3, knight d7. There's a fight over e5. If knight d7 isn't in, white improves with a punch. So first, some space with tempo, and now we challenge black's strongest piece. It's commonplace for the light square bishops to be exchanged in the mainline Caro. So just getting some more pieces out. White is now castled, the rooks are now connected, and it's usually right around this juncture in a game where you think about, well, how can I do one better? How can I improve my pieces, my already developed pieces? Move 13. Knight e5. That's an improvement. Knight d5 by black. Bishop d2. Avoiding that exchange for sure, and keeping a watchful eye over the knight's forward advance. Knight takes knight, pawn takes. With this, something has changed. That's what you get whenever a pawn makes a capture. File change, for one. And white is now working with a tiny bit more space on the king's side. These two white pawns do a good job in restricting black's court grip. So from here, queen c7, pressure on e5, and preparation for queenside castle. This makes a lot of sense. Castling in this direction when these two pawns are so close to the king, bit more scary. Black has no interest in entering an opposite side's castle's position. So this is an important moment in the game. Move 16 for white. What would you do in reply to this threat? Queen takes e5. Feel free to pause the video. Okay, here we go. In the game, queen e4 is played. How do you feel about that move? It seems sensible. For one, you're defending this threat, and two, you're anticipating that there will be a rook on the d file, and the queen would be vulnerable if she's on d3. So it seems very purposeful to do this. There is a downside connected with this, however. A better move is f4, and only one move later, move the queen to, let's say, e2 or f3. What is an issue with the queen on e4? What's the thing that sticks out to me most? It's that this knight is a bit upset. It's not white's, well, this is white's worst piece, and this is its best improving move, right? Knight e4 will tie in very, very well with the pawn on e5. Knights love to be right behind pawns, and if you want one additional reason, they start to intersect on black's weakest square, d6. So, there's a bit of a timing issue, is my point, with queen e4. One move will be lost. The queen will have to move again before the knight can make use of this fantastic square. There's a timing issue on white's part, as well as black's part in this game. With bishop c5, eventually this bishop will lose some time. The knight will be able to jump into e4 with a punch. It's true at the moment f2 is under fire, but in the game we have a move that is likely to be played anyhow. This is a desirable move, f4. So now this bishop is just asking for some trouble in a couple turns. Queenside castles for black. White now realizes that the knight is the one who really wants to be there. Queen f3. Do you see what just happened? White's last three moves. Queen e4, f4, queen f3. This same position could have come about in just two moves. f4, queen f3. Okay, from here, queen b6, knight e4, bishop back. See the time that's lost for both sides? White and black now experience there's a timing issue. Queen g4 is throwing a punch at this moment, move 20. Black doesn't necessarily have to react to this threat. There is a nice move that black can play here. What should black play in this position? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, in the game, black simply defended the threat on g7. However, this was an opportunity to focus in on this one intersection square, knight e3, with the fork, and, well, what do? If you take the knight, that would actually be big trouble. You're going to be losing soon. Black could pile up on this pin. White would have to, at this point, in reply to knight e3, go pawn hunting, and then give up the exchange. So this was a missed opportunity for Team Black, knight e3. Also, here's some really wacky, there's some really wacky move in this position. What's one other move black can play here that, well, in the computer's eyes, it says it's like a draw with this next move? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, you ready for this one? This is one of those, a bolt out of the blue. Best is knight e3, but there's this weird looking move, bishop a3. What's going on with that? Well, looking for mate, and if the bishop is captured, look at this follow-up. Striking at the knight, who is now unprotected as a result of White's last move, and threatening mate. This would result in some drawing line. Anyhow, I was surprised when reviewing for this video to see what kind of suggestion is bishop to a3. Yeah, bishop a3 with queen d4. Shocking. Anyhow, we go down a much more calm path. Black simply defends g7. White now returns. I think maybe one of the ideas was to follow up, throw a punch and then follow up with f5. White finds it best to relocate the queen, watch over the e3 square, and the piece that wants to be on g4 is this pawn. So here we go. g4, it is a battle of the court grips on the king side. Knight b4, this is easily met with a3, so a little bit of time is lost. This isn't a move that black can claim is a great weakness. This is desirable, the move a3. This will act as a nice pocket for the white king. So some time was wasted with black's last couple moves. The knight is being kicked around. Knight c7, bishop c3, move 25. Who stands better in this position and why? White, without question. The one thing that sticks out to me, well, I'm not sure which of the two things sticks out to me more, but white is working with more space, for sure, on the king side, and the better knight. I think that's actually the one thing that sticks out to me at first glance. It's the knight positions. White knight on e4 versus the knight on c7. That doesn't seem to have, I'm not sure what the knight's future is. The black knight, what should it do? For at the moment, this knight does a great job of boxing it out. All right. Well, in the game, queen b3. How to address this threat against c4? This next sequence is instructive. Ready? White hops into that weakest square on d6, defends. It's true the knight can be captured, and it is. Bishop takes knight, but now, after the recapture, there's no time to take c4. The pawn is on the knight. Knight e8. And a very nice move. Queen to e4. Not necessarily best. The computer wants to just race that pawn. That would require a bit more calculation. You know, is this pawn going to be vulnerable when it's on d7? By playing queen e4, you meet this threat against c4 and keep open the option to create a connected passed pawn with pawn to c5. So with this last move, c4 is defended and this pawn is poison. Black cannot take on d6. If you take on d6, you run into a very deadly pin. There's no good way out. Can't defend d6 successfully. c5 would follow. Game over. Black understands this. Plays king to a8. So now this is a threat to win the pawn. White is there first, though, to secure it. So a big battle here is, a big difference is between the minor pieces. White still has some space on the king side, as well as now in the center. And on top of this, we're also working with a superior minor piece for white. Bishop on c3 versus knight on e8. If you want to go one step further, note the queen positions as well. Now, in the game, we have on this move 29, rook to d7. And now for white, move 30, f5. Just breaking down at the e6 square, looking to open some lines. The computer at this point, instead of f5, likes g5. You see the point behind g5? This knight is dead. If you control f6, you control this knight with pawns alone. It's like white is playing with a minor piece plus, since the white pawns killed the knight. You can maybe even go one step further and say that the pawn structure, white's pawn structure, negates the knight and rook. If this knight can't move, how does this rook contribute to the queen side of the board? Maybe white could overload the queen side of the board with all of the pieces now. It's just a thought. We don't have g5 here. Instead f5. Black makes use of this square. Bishop takes knight, pawn takes. The structure is damaged somewhat, but in a way, this little rook move earlier is, well, it's now brought to life. It's kind of justified in a way now that this capture is on board. Black now has one, well, not just one active piece. The queen is active, but now another piece is active, the rook, pointing at g4. From here, king to b1, e5. This is a very active queen. It's challenged with rook to d3. So queen is under fire. Pop quiz to you. Where would you move the queen in this position? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, you ready? Don't get mad at me. You should move the queen nowhere. There is a best move. Rook takes g4. This would be a great shot, something that black missed. Queen takes rook with check, a very important detail, otherwise black would get back rank mated. A missed opportunity for black at this stage. Black reacted, moving the queen. White is the better side, the winning side here. A very interesting structure. Nearly every pawn is frozen here. How to make progress? The queen, white queen on e4 is dominant. This rook, it's a pretty sad piece. It can't, it has a responsibility. Stop this passer. So what to do? Let's see. First, rook c3, queen a5, rook g1. Eventually, white is going to organize the pieces towards the king side. I think eventually white understood that the queen is really best placed on e4, stopping any possibility of, let's say, a pawn move and the queen jumping up here to a central post. This, of course, would cost a pawn. I think the queen locked in on e4 is just a fantastic piece. Opposite the king, securing g4. Doesn't really get too much better than that. So what do we have from here? White is now going to pile up along the B file, which makes for a very instructional finish, I must say. Here we go. A4, A5, and of course we're looking for A6. We're looking to undermine this structure. If a6 is in, there's this idea to double up on the b file and, giving up 2 rooks for the queen, smashing through on c6. If this pawn is removed, these 2 pawns would become connected and passed. So black prevents this, does not allow a6. An issue with a6, or the weakness, is b6. Of course, this is now made use of. And this is a fantastic piece, exerting pressure in, doesn't get that much better, right? Hitting at 3 black pawns, and it's a piece that just cannot be removed. King a7 is a nice improvement, watches over a6. This is now a sensitive point, so the king does a good job watching over both black pawns. From here, rook lift. We're just looking to transfer over to the b file. And queen to b8. I have a pop quiz here. Okay, let me get one more move on. Queen b8 is played. What is the winning plan for white? This is something you may have to think about for a little bit. What is white's winning plan in this position? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, here we go. The winning plan here, I believe the only way to crack black's position is with the move b4. A bit surprising, it seems like you just triple up on the b file and something great is going to happen. But black can defend that. Everything is locked. You'll notice after queen b8. Look at this interesting pawn structure. Major piece specific. All the pawns are basically frozen except for this b pawn. There's one way the structure can basically change, and it involves the b pawn. This is the winning plan. What white should do here, well, white could play how it was in the game and, see if black stumbles. Black ends up stumbling. But the winning plan, I believe the only winning plan, is as follows. b4, b5. Giving up a pawn just so one of these 2 pawns can advance and break down black's structure. So if chopped like this, there would follow a6. c6 is going to collapse very soon. Look at the queen and rook coordinating very well on that square. And if this capture, c6 right now, and look at these 2 diagonals, there's no way the black king is surviving that. 3 major pieces and a pawn. White has the safer king. There's no good solution here for black. That's the winning plan. To use this b4, b5 break. This one ends, however, with white tripling up on the b file. All majors now pointing at b7. Black slips up here on this move 45. The queen is most efficient on the c8 square, staying off of the b file and just watching over these 2 points from the c8 square. A good move here is, let's say, rook to g8, and white would have to eventually figure out, you know what? I don't have any tactic here. I can't break through. There isn't some sacrifice I can make against any of these pawns that's going to work. White would have to figure out, you know what, I have to move my major pieces out of the way and play b4, b5. I'm pretty sure that's the only winning plan. As it was played in this game, queen b8 on board. Last pop quiz. What move did Tihon play next? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, here we go. Rook takes a6, and black resigns. It is checkmate next move, regardless of how this rook is captured. A very nice end to this one. If pawn takes rook, queen takes queen is mate. And if king takes rook, queen b6 would be mate. So a very nice end to this one. Interesting structure in this endgame. All pawns locked, major pieces, only pieces present. And yeah, a very nice tactical shot here with these majors tripling up on the B file. Again, I believe if black did not play queen to B8, rook to G8, something like this, I believe the rook have to get out of the way, and this B pawn has to rush all the way down to B5 and change the structure in order for the black side to be broken down. Anyhow, as usual, feel free to leave any feedback to this video in the comments section below. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe even took a thing or two away. That's all for now. Take care.